All right, I'm back on Native American Heritage Day, which is the day after Thanksgiving in the United States. Um, anyway, this is getting up at 5 in the morning to watch this was just as much fun as I thought it would be. You can see that the title for this version, All Senses Clear, All Existence Void. I don't necessarily know exactly what that means, although I can hazard a few guesses. But anyway, moving along, in the three questions I had when I started this, the question that didn't get answered was the version length. Is it going to be 5 weeks or 6 weeks? They didn't mention it, and since they didn't, I would say it's probably going to be five. Although once it does go live, I think that's going to be pretty easy to derive. Just look at the battle pass, even if you're not going to do anything with the battle pass. If you see that the battle pass is 900 points per level, then it's probably still 5 weeks. If it's gone back to 1,000, then it's going to be 6 weeks. I think that's how we're going to know for sure, at least for the next one. But given that they didn't say anything, I would imagine that it's basically just keeping with the 5 weeks. And I certainly didn't go down, since they're certainly not going to go to anything else other than those two options. So the so that was the one thing that they didn't address. I'll address the other two things that they did. But first, we do have a new interlude chapter, which is something that I did not predict. I thought that a story quest for the Wanderer would be sufficient, but they made it an interlude chapter, which basically means if you want to play it, you'll probably need to be all the way through chapter 3, Act 5. Because and that would be and I would imagine that if you have gotten your way through that act, then it would be obvious why you have to be to that point. Even if they had a character quest, which is what I thought they would do, you still would have needed to be all the way through the Archon Quest Chapter 3 in order for it to make any sense at all. So I will probably stream this on Twitch. It'll probably with all of the Archon quests, even the interlude chapters. Those usually are my primary focus, so I do those first. I would imagine this would probably be a 2-stream interlude chapter, but we'll see how it goes. So speaking of the Wanderer, as we kind of expected, he is now going to be a 5-star character. He is a Catalyst Animo user, and my initial thoughts is I'm not into him. I feel like I have enough Animo characters. I feel like since I have Kazuha, he probably doesn't give me that much of a different look into Animo. I think if you have Heizo at a high constellation level, he may be a little underwhelming. I haven't built Heizo yet, but I see a lot of similarities between the two. That said, I see the marketability in this character, and I know of at least two contacts I have that will have credit card in hand when 3.3 goes live, so that they can guarantee that they get him. And if with that being the case, then good for them. I think that there's definitely people are interested in this character. People want this character, and for what Genshin Impact is, if you have a character that is going to drive interest into your product, that's the win. So even though it's not for me, I will still do his trial run to make sure, but I don't. It's not a character that I'm particularly interested in as far as his backstory, as far as everything else. But I will give him his. I will do the trial run. I'll see if the Archon interlude quest changes my opinion. I don't think it will, but I think it's still. But even then, I think it's the greater good to have him in the game. So, we also have a new 4-star Animo bow user. Um, Again, I feel like she doesn't give me that much that I don't already have or can't already have. She does. I feel like I would rather just build sucrose than to grind for a brand new character. But she is going to be there if you're interested, and she's going to be part of the first phase as a 4-star character. You can see that the Wanderer will have a banner, as will Arataki Ito. Um, as far as Ito goes, I have him at C1 right now, and as you know, I have been building him up. And I think for right now, let's go ahead and quickly go to my remote play, and let's just take a quick look at what I have for Ito. Um, so overall, I think the stats came out pretty well. I think the crits I have for him are pretty good. I do have a weapon for him, which is basically the 4-star version of his 5-star weapon, and like I said, a 4-piece Husk of Opulent Dreams, which I believe is his best overall artifact set. And I do have one constellation so far. So if I pulled for him, I would be going for this one, which after using, I think this is his, let me just check. Yes, it's his burst. So I just want to make sure I had that right. After using his burst, each party member whose element is Geo will decrease that skill's cooldown by 1.5 seconds and restore 6 energy to Arataki Ito. So I think that this would help quite a bit, because I think that much like Noel, has a lot of the damage he's going to do is going to be through his elemental burst. To be honest, I'm kind of underwhelmed by him right now. I think it might, part of it's because Noelle just does way more damage with her elemental burst than Ito does. Having said that, Noelle has her talents at 8 across right now. Ito is still at 1 across, so there's a little bit of an apples to oranges to that. I'm on the fence. I think that I can see that Constellation 2 would definitely help, particularly if you had someone like Yunjin in the lineup with him, who is also providing a lot of energy recharge, and is also Geo, so that would trigger this. I would, since it says each party member, I'm assuming that also includes Ito. So this would be, so basically having Yunjin in the lineup would double this, which is good. I don't know if I would go for it. Let's just take a quick peek at what my wish situation looks like. So I have 44 wishes saved up right now. And if I go to my Primo Gems, I can see I can get another 16. I won't cash that in just yet, although I never used that for anything else. So I know I have 60 wishes in the bank right now. That's 30 less than what I would need to guarantee a 5-star pull, and my guarantee of getting the banner is not in the in play right now. So, um, yeah, overall, I would say it. I'd give it some more thought. I would definitely be more inclined to go for Ito than to go for his weapon, and I probably would not. So I probably wouldn't go for the weapon banner the in the first phase. And I probably wouldn't even go for Ito in the first phase because unless I really know I can get more damage output from him than I'm getting right now. So the next phase, which I did not take a screenshot of, will have Ayato and Raiden Shogun as the 5 stars. I believe I just have both of them at 0 right now. So it would be their first um, constellation that I would get. So let me just double check to make sure that that is. I think it's this. There's so many. Okay, so this the that damage is increased by 40% against opponents with 50% hit points or less. Um, I keep forgetting what some of these terms are. Apparently, I keep forgetting how to. Okay. Well, I'm not sure where that what that. You're probably seeing it faster than I am, but yeah, it would. Okay, so it's this. Um, so that would do more damage if there are 50% hit points or less. That's pretty much his. His bread and butter as far as his damage output is concerned. So that's actually a good constellation for him to have, although it will only help once they are 50% or less, and just for fun. So that this one, um, yeah, a little bit lesser, but I'm not going to pull him twice, so that probably doesn't matter. So let's take a look at Raiden's Constellation 1. That will gather resolve even faster, and that's the circlet behind her whenever you see her on field. When Electro characters use their elemental bursts, again, I'm assuming that includes her. The resolve gained is increased by 80%. When characters of other elemental types use their elemental bursts, the resolve gained is increased by 20%. When resolve gained is increased by 8%. Okay. Probably should have looked at this offline. But this might help, but I'm not sure it's as big a help as Ito's C1. But anyway, between those two, the other thing to think about is since Ayato and Raiden are going to be on the banner, so then will their weapons on the weapon banner. And while the weapon banner, I think I mentioned it earlier. I think it gets a little bit of a. I think it gets a little bit more flack than it deserves because overall it's a little bit less. I think people think that it takes more wishes to get what you really want compared to a character banner. People look at it as 180 wishes guarantees you a wanderer, but 240 wishes guarantees you his weapon. But at the same time, if you don't really have that many 5-star weapons, and I don't really have that many 5-star weapons, then then just adding another 5-star weapon could help out. So and and Ayato could really use something that's not the Akia Favonia. I put that on him because I thought that the physical damage bonus would take effect and then be converted to hydro damage as part of his elemental skill. I did some testing on that, found out it's not the case. So he really does need something different than this. Thing is, it's got to be another sword, and it's not going to be this one. So it's just a question of which sword is it going to be. So if I get his sword, that solves the problem. If I miss his sword and I get Raiden's pole arm, that's a win for her. Even though I'm planning to give her the catch once I fix her artifact set. Getting her, and I believe it's called Engulfing Lightning. Getting that helps her out. So if I had to take a guess right now, I would be saying I'm probably going to save my wishes through phase 1 because phase 2 gives me more value as far as my lineup goes. And I would probably be more inclined to try for the weapons because I have a 75% chance divided equally of getting either Ayato's weapon or Raiden Shogun's weapon. And I have the other 25% is divided equally among the other 5-star weapons in the baseline, which probably means I'll get one of the bows again, which will probably mean that one of these 2 bows will become an R2. But anyway, that would be my guess. Of course, I always do the test run. I'll do the test run for phase 1 to see if anything changes in my mind about the Wanderer or about the other new character, which I've already forgotten the name of, which is probably bad. But yes, I would say that would be what I'd be looking at. So let's go ahead back to my screen here. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the banners. Now, as far as my third thought, which was since we have Arataki Ito on the preview here in our preview panel, I figured that was signaling that Genius Invocation TCG was coming very soon, and as a matter of fact, it is. It looks cool. It looks cool, but I really I'd be keeping my mind in the back. I'd be keeping my eyes open because I think that there will probably be some monetization to this. Although it does look like a lot of it is going to be kind of a little bit of a grind, as far as challenging different NPCs to battles. I think if you've played anything like anything like Yu-Gi-Oh, I think it's going to be kind of something like that. I believe Magic the Gathering, I know they have a game that I've played a couple times. So, but it's going to be something like you're going to challenge different characters, and as you level up, you'll get to challenge more. I don't know how you're going to get the cards. I think that's where I'd be worried about monetization if you've got a budget. So I would say that I might think about streaming this, but I'm going to keep it. I may initially stream it on Twitch, but if it becomes too grindy, I might move it to YouTube as more of a highlights thing, because I don't know how many people want to see the same card battles played over and over again. We'll keep an eye on that for the stream. I think it's going to be interesting. I know a lot of people are interested in this. I think even if there is some monetization, I think it's going to work pretty well. We have 2 new artifact sets coming up, and this will probably be somewhere in the desert, given what they are. The Desert Pavilion Chronicle Its two-piece set gives an animo damage, much like a Viridescent Venerer. And then the four-piece set um, triggers when charged attacks hit opponents. My guess, just by looking at this, is that the Desert Pavilion Chronicle is made for the Wanderer. That's just my guess right now. I don't know if it's really going to help anybody else. I looked at the four-piece set. I think about the animal characters I currently have, and I don't really think any of them really use that charged attacks. I guess the four-piece set would actually help the new four-star as well, because since she's an archer, you would imagine you're using charged attacks quite frequently. But I think if you're, I think it's kind of a niche set that's probably only going to help a few animal characters, and but we'll see how it goes. And then you've got Flower of Paradise Lost, which I'm going to be keeping an eye out a little bit more on. Um, the two-piece set is an elemental mastery boost, so it's got to be another one of those. And its four-piece set primarily takes effect for characters that are triggering Bloom, Hyperbloom, and Bergeron, which I probably mispronounced. Sorry about that. Um, but I would say that I'd keep an eye on that one. I don't know. I have a feeling this is probably going to be beneficial for a later character rather than one of the characters we currently have. Um, but yes, I would say that is overall, this might be an artifacts domain that you're just going to go to if you need specific artifact sets for new characters. I don't think these are general purpose artifacts that will help any animal character or any character looking to increase their elemental mastery. So we have our brand new event. So this is the event that is going to be the main event for 3.3. It takes place in Inazuma, and from what I can see, it takes place in the main island where the shrine is. So generally speaking, I would imagine that you need to go much further than the end of chapter 2 to start this chapter, depending on where they decide that the prerequisite should be. Maybe you just need to be in Inazuma at some point. But my guess is that you'll need to be finished to be pretty well along chapter 2, or even finished with chapter 2 to do this. So if you've already been taking part in Sumeru, then you're already in good shape. You can see that it comes with this will come with a new sword. There's a new the other new item is probably just the item that provides the refinement for the sword. Generally speaking, we've seen that the swords from the events don't tend to be things that be very high level 4 stars, even at the R5 level. But it's still worth, I think it's always worth just leveling up whatever weapon that the event gives you, because you never know when a good weapon will come about. Or even if it's not the best weapon, it might be you might just be able to find a good a niche way to use it. So overall, nothing else of significance of this. Obviously, there's going to be a crown. Everything else is kind of what we would normally expect to see. There'll be some talent level materials for characters in Inazuma, weapon ascension materials for weapons from Inazuma, which I would imagine would include the sword, and all the rest of the stuff. Overall, I bet this is going to be interesting. This will definitely be streamed on Twitch, but I'm definitely interested in this. I just wouldn't get your hopes up that the sword will be of immediate use to any of your characters unless you just want to have a sword immediately available for a character while you're getting your artifact sets built up. And then we have the other, I believe, 3 more events that are kind of the sub events that they always get added with the different versions. Across the Wilderness is going to be about collecting balloons, and there isn't anything particularly interesting as far as the rewards. Mondstadt talent level up materials is probably the biggest one for me, but I don't think this is going to be particularly hard. I think it's going to be easier if you have a character that can float. Um, Obviously, they are kind of hinting that the Wanderer is going to have a major advantage in this. I have Kazuha. I feel like Kazuha would have the exact same advantage that the Wanderer would have. So, Wind Trace is back, and this is I think this is a good one to come back. We've seen this every once in a while, or I think we've seen this at least once. And this is the hide and seek one um, where most of the players are going to be the rebels and one player is going to be the hunter, and the hunter has to find all the rebels. The rebels have to have at least one character that evades the hunter in the time limit. So they added some new things. I don't think the new things that they added are really going to affect the gameplay that much. I think it's mostly going to be exactly the same as it was last time, with maybe just a few things here and there. Worth noting, it looks like the weapon ascension materials that you're going to get from this might be the ones from Sumeru. So, but yes, that is, even though this will be taking place in Mondstadt, probably as normal. So I don't know why we're getting those ascension materials. And then finally we have the Misty Dungeon Realm of Sand, which will also have the exact same weapon ascension materials. I didn't really see much of this that was of particular interest that I would need to say here, but it will be kind of fun. I would imagine that you would need to have unlocked the desert to be able to do this. But if you've been keeping up with the story, that should be no problem whatsoever. So yeah, overall, I would say it is a very interesting. I think version 3.3 does look like it will be interesting. I think it will be something that will be fun to play. I don't think that there's anything groundbreaking that we found out today. But on the other hand, I wasn't really expecting to see anything groundbreaking, given that I feel like we're starting to get into the portion of Genshin of version 3 where we're going to be mostly seeing interlude chapters here and there. I'm surprised we're getting an interlude chapter immediately kind of going into this. But I think that we're probably looking at 5 or 6 different versions before we get to 4.0. So yeah, overall, I think it's good. I don't know. Like I said, I think that in phase 2, I think there'll be some options for me to spend my Prima gems. So overall, I'm pretty happy, and I hopefully you enjoyed this as well. As for the redemption codes, there were 3 redemption codes. I chose not to add them to my response video because mostly, if you're looking at this one day later, all the redemption codes will have expired. So anyway, that should do it for me today. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and do consider following me on Twitch and on my Discord server as well. Thank you very much, and I will see you later.